Hello, everybody. Thank you, Lili. Thank you, Tamara, for the short introduction. I'm very happy to be here and to share with you my experience as working woman for a long time. I'm much more older than you are, and as working mom, and especially in the field where corporate work is very much dominated by men. And I want to convince you that gender equality is good for everyone, not only for women, also included for men. So this is something I want to share with you. And let's talk about my working experience. If I look into corporate world, into startup scene and music, fashion and art industry, you can always find still some male dominance. So it's still in the hands, the agenda most of the time in the hand of men. So, but I'm full of hope. If I see you, most of you, I'm sure you are under 30, so the real millennials will fix it. Because I think you are not willing enough to accept that the hierarchy is dominating, male are dominating you. I think what I experienced so far from the millennials, they don't accept the stereotypes, traditional models, and looking forward more to a career and to be fearless, bold, and brave. So as the conference, the title of the conference is. So I just, when I prepared the presentation, I was really impressed that until 1977, you have to imagine, in Germany, women had to ask for permission from their husbands if they could work. You have to imagine that until that time, we as women, we didn't have the freedom to decide what we're doing with our life. So it was for me something which really gave me some thoughts, and I want to share it with you. And if you think 2016, was the quota system. So first time that Germany decided to have 30% of supervisory members, female supervisory members in supervisory boards. So something is happening, and digitization will also affect, I think, the change of mindset and will give us a lot of freedom. And I think as you are so young, you should take the chance and take it and go ahead and conquer the business. I'm now working since 10 years for Deutsche Telekom. My fields are art management. I'm responsible for 3D brand experience, which is everything related to shop design and booths, so make the brand of Deutsche Telekom tangible and that people experience what our products, which are not visible, what they are all about. And workplaces, future workplaces, you have to imagine Telekom is a quite old company, and until 2 years we were working in cell structure, so everybody was sitting in his office. So this has changed since 2-3 years. We tear down the cell structures, the walls, and now we have more open spaces, as you can see here down in the picture. So this is all about me, and it's always a challenge because I'm in a top management position to be in the middle. I'm always sitting. I'm almost the only woman sitting with men. It's a challenge, but also it's a pleasure. I spoke to you yesterday, Anna, yeah, because you have the same experience. Sometimes you feel lonely, but sometimes it's also good to really show what the difference of women's behavior in business is, and that helps a lot, and it breaks down the stereotypes. It opens, especially in digitization, a lot of room to be flexible, agile, to be collaborative. These are attributes we need more and more in business, and to be as competitive as possible. So, living in two worlds, this is a picture I discovered, and I thought it's still there, that there are some reasons that people and women and men are different and diverse. First of all, it's of course because it's genetic. When I first experienced kindergarten with my daughter, she's now 10 years, and she was 9 months at that time, and then you immediately could recognize it's really genetic, that guys or boys are really pushing and looking for their toys, and girls are more observing, more clever, I would say. More, yeah, let's first observe the situation, then I go to the toys. So it's genetic, but also if you look at these pink, blue, codified worlds, it's also something which has been set up, and I discovered it's since 1940, the American clothing and toy industry, they defined that pink stands for feminine, for girls, and the blue world stands for boys. So this was really a marketing machinery, a marketing concept, and it's still working. I don't know if you see little girls or you go to a store, it's still you see the separate ways. So could be also the opposite. So this is what I want to share and be more sensitive that we are somehow affected by this marketing world. Then looking at the startup scene, everybody's thinking, wow, startup scene, it's so cool, it's so progressive, it's so open-minded. If you see these figures over there, then you see men make the best founders still, and especially a few colleagues of mine, they spend almost every second week in the Silicon Valley. They say it's so much driven by men. It's not really open for females, and the investment funds, as you see, it gets always to the men founders. It's a question I think which we should think about, but it's also about us, because I think women tend to be not as pushy, as powerful. They appear to the investors as more cautious, not as considered and clever like men. And I think this is just to show you this. We have to change that. I think it's time to move ahead. And as I'm responsible also for the art collection Telekom, this is, you think, oh, art, it's open, it's democratic. But for example, Cindy Sherman is one of the top artists in the world. For this painting, she received 3 million. It has a value like 3 million euros. And compared to Jeff Koons, also similar zeitgeist artist, this is in the middle of New York City, the seated ballerina, and he has this is a value around about 40 million. So 40 million, why am I putting this as an example here into this conference? When I talk to art dealers, when I talk to art dealers and gallery owners, they told me, you know, I prefer to have male artists in my collection because I receive over 30% more than female artists. So this is something which makes me angry, and it's something which is not really fair. And it's really, this is the art business which is really still very conservative. So just to put some examples to show you what is happening, especially in the art management. What makes me proud is we have an art collection where we have a balance 50-50 male and female. And when I talk to the art world, they are always very impressed. But why do you collect women? Because I say because they're really good. They have some really interesting pieces over there. But it's always very capital driven. So it was for me also a really interesting experience. So, but what I said, I don't want to be negative only today. Also, the new is already visible. Cultural change is already on its way. And starting with the quota system, as I mentioned before, then digitization is really creating more transparency. The industry knows a lot more about the customers. than just their gender. And especially industry is now addressing more the customer needs, personal, individual. And I'm looking again to you, the millennials. Traditional roles are being left behind. The assignment of pink and blue is receding. Stereotypes and old ways of thinking are falling off. And this is something you should support and go and discover and concur everything you want to concur. And I think it's very much, we are looking very much also from the corporate side for new leadership styles. So again, I'm a baby boomer, and we had a different mindset when we started, because we had a lot of competition. Baby boomer speaks for himself, the name, and the millennials are very much more into soft careers. We were like, yeah, let's go vertical and be the first, and the whole attitude to the working world has changed a lot, especially from the millennials. When we have this market research, we're doing a lot of market research, you discover that it's not so important to have like duty, and you want to enjoy your work. It's more like also have time for the kids, for your family, and this is something what makes people happy, and what makes companies happy, what makes societies happy. I discovered Michael Keimel. He's a sociologist from the US, and he said, according to his studies, that countries with a high gender equality rate score highest on the level of happiness. And you can see Norway is on first place, and Germany on the 16th place. So I would love to be more on the second at least, or first place as well. How come that Norway is on the first place? They have a systems where people and women and men, they can share more their working places. They have a systems like a childcare, a daycare, and what they do is the men and women share childcare and household, and they are somehow much more happier. Kids are better at school. They have fewer hours with therapists, less depressions, and last but not least, what's really important, they have more sex. So it's something that they enjoy more life, and this makes you happy. I think it's something which is really, really important to have this more balanced way of life. So if we go more for gender equality, we will gain more happiness, more sex, and it's a win-win situation for men and women, and for the whole family, and for everyone. Because companies also in Norway, they have much more satisfaction, higher productivity, so it affects also the economic, the systems, the whole economy. So here again, different as an opportunity to demonstrate this left part is more like how men are approaching business life, and I experience that a lot. In the corporate world, you have a lot of leadership styles still, which are more triggered by command and control, giving answer instead of discussing. Women tend to be more involved, they are more collaborative, they want to see people like in a dialogue, and men tend to be like straight and goal setting, and for us as a woman is more the process, the way is the goal. So it's also something which shows if we mix more women and men together, something really good will happen. So this is, sorry, I put it again away. So it shows that leadership, now what we need is very much the leadership what women, and especially in digitization, where you have this participation, collaboration, because hierarchy are falling off, and we need more this way of network, more family-driven, like we are working in a teams, and there are also studies that teams are more successful when there are 50% women and 50% men. So it's still also a sign that we definitely need to push also there, that we have more, like at school, it's normal that you have classes 50% girls and 50% boys. In school systems, this already is like fixed, but I think this should also be should affect the working environment. So this is one of my favorite fashion designer. I'm also responsible for Fashion Fusion. Fashion Fusion is an initiative, an innovation lab. We started two years ago where we integrated, we brought together the tech people and the fashion industry, and working with them together. And since then, I'm really much into fashion and looking where are the most innovative people. And J.W. Anderson is one young guy. He says there is now a generation that is not longer sees. There is now a generation that no longer sees any difference between men and women, for whom it's all about just being who you are. He's like very much, also when you see his clothes, he's very much into genderless clothing. And I think this is the future. This will be something you get more independent. You don't look so much, oh, do I need a pink or a blue shirt? I think something will happen in the future which will where we can get rid from this codified pink and blue world. Yeah, and last but not least, again, equality is not the absence of difference. What I want to really emphasize, it's not that you have to become man, totally the opposite. Be a woman as women and with all these attributes and characteristics, and I think we will have a win-win situation, and equality is so important, but not by giving up differences, but by respecting differences. And if we make this more visible, more transparent, then I think we will move forward. And I encourage you to really take the power, because most of my female colleagues, they say, yeah, but I'm not so good as the men. We as women pretend to always think that we need to be perfect. And I think men are also not perfect. It's just that we think we have to be better than men. No, just be cool and be fearless, bold and brave. So, thank you.